Here's a no-brainer. Steve Spagnuolo, the Chiefs defensive coordinator, is signed to a contract extension. He's been the coordinator since 2019. He's crafted some of the most masterful defensive game plans in Super Bowl history. He should get consideration to be a head coach. I wish Kevin Demoff from the Rams would have been banging that drum for him while jobs were open, because the reality is by next year he's going to be a year older. And I do think at some level there is an ageism problem in the NFL when it comes to hiring coaches. Got to go young, got to go young, got to go young. He might be too old to get consideration to be a head coach, unfortunately. But on merit, he deserves it. And we were talking about it during the hiring cycle. Why can't Steve Spagnuolo get an interview, given what he's done? That mess with the Rams was not his fault. It was a dysfunctional organization. But that's what's holding him back. That, and if not now, by next year, age will hold him back as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where if I'm a team owner, there are things that I would look for in a potential head coach. And you're like, well, isn't Spags most of those things? Right? You know, very, very successful coordinator, successful leader of men. No, it's not just defensive guys that were wearing the "In Spags We Trust" shirts. It's offensive guys. So yes, there is certainly reason for him to get that kind of consideration. It is interesting though, Mike. I mean, you don't see a lot of coaches from Kansas City, despite how successful that team has been over the last however many years. You don't get a lot of coaches going on and being head coaches, right? I mean, you had Doug Peterson, obviously. Matt Nagy also was one of them. But other than that, you know, Ryan Poles left the organization to go be a GM. You just, for whatever reason, they've retained a lot of that coaching talent and front office talent there in Kansas City. So I guess that's just why it's part of why they keep winning. They have everybody that they need and they kind of keep them. So that's interesting to me.
Continuity is critical, and usually the issue of continuity comes up from the standpoint of whether or not you're going to fire guys. You're able to keep your guys there who otherwise would be in position to go. And look, it was Doug Peterson, Matt Nagy, and then Eric Bieniemy couldn't get any serious consideration to be a head coach somewhere else when his window was open, to the point where Mike Kafka, who was in position to be the next offensive coordinator, had to go somewhere else to be a coordinator. He wasn't able to go through the pipeline. And Matt Nagy is kind of blocking that pipeline now because he hasn't done enough in his time back with the Chiefs so far to get consideration to be a head coach. But you're going to have continuity in that coaching staff, and you could have Eric Bieniemy back as like an assistant head coach for next year to make it even better. So the good news for the Chiefs, nobody gives Steve Spagnuolo serious consideration to be a head coach. He'll be 65 on December 21. I hope that he gets fair consideration. But again, we see it all the time. They go younger, they go younger, they go younger for the most part. And age discrimination, it's been something I've heard about for years in the NFL, whether it's scouts, whether it's coaches, whatever. Nobody's ever sued them for it, but it sure feels like, just like the Brian Flores lawsuit, if somebody wanted to do it, there'd be enough there to put it together because the statistics seem questionable, and that could keep Steve Spagnuolo still in Kansas City beyond the 2024 season. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.